Hello everybody and welcome back to another Doctor Who Big Finish audio drama review. In today's review I'm going to be taking a look at one of the latest releases as a part of the Big Finish monthly range, to feature Colin Baker as the 6th Doctor, alongside Lisa Greenwood playing Flip and of course Miranda Rayson as Constance Clark. This episode is the April 2020 release, Cry of the Vultris, as written by Darren Jones, to feature the return of the Ice Warriors. Now this is in fact a segment of this review that I have filmed a month or so after filming the original review, because as you will no doubt know if you are a regular viewer of my Big Finish monthly range reviews, you will know as of around summer 2019 I started reviewing the monthly range within a set of trilogy reviews, taking a look at all three releases within one mega review. However, due to current circumstances, COVID-19 lockdown, I do believe that a few other things going on behind the scenes at Big Finish, the third and final story of the current 6th Doctor trilogy, being the Lovecraft Invasion as written by Robert Valentine, has sadly needed to be delayed, meaning that I've decided to move back to my original format of monthly range reviews, meaning that as of this point, Cry of the Vultris, the main range will be returning to regular reviews as opposed to trilogy reviews, as at the minute we do have a few things going on at Big Finish. Of course, the next range after this I do believe is a set of 5th Doctor adventures, and again that trilogy is interrupted with a 7th Doctor story being put in place of the third and final episode of that trilogy, meaning that generally, just to prevent further delays of reviews and not needing to hold back trilogy reviews for as long as possible due to the third releases not being out, I've decided to move back to the original format. Of course, Big Finish anyway are going to be ending the Big Finish main range in 2021, I do believe around March time, meaning that if this does continue, of course the main range will be continuing in the regular format that it used to up until the end of the series in the end of 2020. So without further ado, let's take a look at the first adventure of this trilogy, being Cry of the Vultris. The Doctor, Flip and Constance Clark arrive on yet another alien world. This time round, however, the TARDIS has been damaged in the process and needs to go under a number of different repairs, whilst the TARDIS team intertwine themselves within an alien society on the planet of Sigia Rima. Now, there is in fact an early suggestion in this story that this episode in fact takes place shortly after the events of Static, which I did also review a number of years ago. So we have once again this wonderful relationship between Flip and Constance Clark, and almost Constance Clark getting used to her new body, which is something that I touched on within that review, as I say, quite a long time ago, so go and check that out if you haven't already. So we are introduced to the alien race of the Vultris, and basically they are almost another race out there in space on the planet of Sigia Rima, and they don't really know about other alien worlds and how other alien worlds work, and we have almost society reflected within them, much like humans today. It's almost like humans going out into space and interacting with aliens for the first ever time. However, the aliens that the Vultris are in fact planning on meeting for the first time aren't, surprisingly, the Doctor, Flip and Constance Clark. They are caught almost within the crossfire of this first ever meeting, as the Vultris are in fact planning to meet the Ice Warriors, a different form of Ice Warrior that are on a diplomatic mission, as opposed to being the evil Ice Warriors that we've seen within some stories throughout Doctor Who history. Now, I must admit, I've not actually listened to many Ice Warrior stories on Big Finish. I think the only one I have listened to is the 10th Doctor one called Vengeance, of course, alongside Billy Piper. I kind of enjoyed that story. I thought it was okay. I must admit, I like the fact that they are using the Ice Warriors and constantly referring back to the fact that they are Martians and they are from the solar system. It kind of makes the Ice Warriors feel quite close to home, even though at the same time they are from a completely different planet, and it's nice to see them going out into space and actually interacting with other species, as we find out throughout this story. I think that to an extent they are a rather well-rounded alien race. You can know quite a lot about them. They're certainly more than just your standard monster template. However, perhaps it would be nice to see them go into their society a bit more. I want to see perhaps the actual habitats of the Ice Warriors on Mars, as opposed to it just simply being referred to. One of the strongest elements of this story, as always, is the relationship between the TARDIS team. As per usual, Colin Baker is absolutely brilliant as the 6th Doctor, and he has some wonderful moments. I love his interactions with the Vultris, and I love the way that he interacts with the Ice Warriors for the first time as well at the end of Part 1. And of course we have the TARDIS team, being both Constance Clark and Flip. I love the fact that Constance Clark is a very well-spoken English character. She is a stereotypical companion of classic series Doctor Who. However, the fact that she is being placed with another companion, this time around from modern day, that has quite stark different beliefs to Constance Clark, makes for a rather interesting TARDIS team. It isn't just the Doctor showing a person from another time, the rest of the universe, it is also Flip showing Constance Clark the universe as well, and introducing her to some of her understandings of what the Earth is like in the future. Miranda Rayson does a very good job. We have the Vultris in this story, and her relating the Vultris to the people almost within Bletchley Park, which we did of course see within her first story, being crisscross, basically the different ranks of people within Bletchley Park, such as the captains and the soldiers, and who they are all working for. We kind of see that society of the Vultris being strange throughout this episode. We get to see one person, being Queen Sky, ruling over the planet. However, there is a certain group of society that believe that she isn't in fact the Queen, and the original Queen, who should be in charge of the planet, has almost been deposed, and the main reason for that is because the Queen has a certain cry, hence the name of the episode, and it turns out that the Queen of Sky is in fact a fake Queen, and the rest of the rebellion are trying to get the real Queen into power. And of course Lisa Greenwood as Flip as well. She is a bright light within Doctor Who, I suppose, because she is basically a perfect blend between Rose Tyler and Lucy Miller. She has that sassy side where you kind of think that although she is a young character, she's not as old as Constance Clark, she's still quite young and open to experiencing new themes. At the same time, she's not the type of character that you want to get on the wrong side of, because Flip is very feisty, and what she believes in is what she believes in, and she believes to stick with that. Most of the time that is of course a good thing, because she believes that everybody in society should almost be treated fairly, and that is something that we also get to see throughout the second story of the trilogy, being of course Scorched Earth. She gets very personally involved within the adventures, as we have within this story, her interacting with someone who admittedly, yes, did go against the Queen and the group of people that she's meant to be working with, and as a result she does get imprisoned throughout the episode. However, she still feels sympathy for her, and kind of gets her the best possible prison sentence, because the character wishes to go out into the universe and experience space, still gets to travel space, however not necessarily as freely as she so wished. So she still serves justice, however gives the person who is getting said justice a little bit of a benefit in return as well. She's kind of given them a fairness, which is what summarises Flip, I think. She is a fair human being that is good-hearted and has good intentions. Of course, the Ice Warriors, we are introduced to a few throughout this story. We do of course have the return of the Empress, the same person who played the Empress within the Empress of Mars within Doctor Who season 10, I think it was. I don't know, Peter Capaldi now feels such a long time ago, but it's nice to see her returning. Of course you have that character of the female Ice Warrior being very different from, say, Lord Slaw within the first Ice Warrior story, and we get to see her commanding over the rest of the Ice Warriors. Of course we have Nicholas Briggs as your usual standard Ice Warriors. And again, I thought she was okay, and I like the revelations that occur throughout the story to maybe reveal that the Ice Warrior Queen or Empress isn't necessarily the Queen that you think she is. She's hiding some truths, and again we have a few parallels between the Ice Warrior Society and the Society of the Vultris. I think a little criticism that I have with this story is the Vultris themselves. I absolutely love the species. I love the fact that they are bird creatures. I think again it's something that, had this episode been on TV within the 80s, it would have no doubt looked pretty bad, to say the least, because we have bird people with wings. They simply wouldn't be able to do it. However, because it's audio drama, Big Finish can expand upon these alien worlds and create these rather brilliantly bizarre concepts, and this episode is a perfect example of that. However, we don't really have any voice modulation, and that is not something that I normally comment on, because it doesn't really affect me in any way. I don't really mind when creatures have voice modulation to make them sound alien. I think the main criticism that I have of this story is that we have none of that. We don't have any voice modulation. If you kind of just listen to a segment of the story, it just feels like you're talking to another human. It doesn't particularly feel very alien, and you constantly need to almost remind yourself that the scene that is currently playing out, say, between Flip and a Vultris person, is in fact Flip talking to a massive tropical-looking bird, as opposed to Flip talking to another everyday human. As I say, it may have been nice to have a few little tweaks to the voice in there, just to make it sound ever so slightly alien.
Alien!
I think the thing that I like most about Cry of the Vultris is it's quite a slow burner, and that normally, again, is a criticism. However, in the context of this story, especially with this TARDIS team, this is the type of TARDIS team that I would simply like a bonus release of than chilling about and just having a laugh, because it is a TARDIS team that you imagine, say, off-screen, would have quite a lot of interesting conversations about the different time periods that they come from, and we are constantly reminded throughout this story of those backgrounds. The fact Flip has been taken virtually from her wedding night, and the fact that we have Constance, of course, from the World Wars, and we have them incorporating their beliefs within the stories and the planets that they visit. And for example, within the early half of this episode, we have a massive banquet being held, of course, of the Ice Warriors and the Vultris meeting for the first ever time, and it feels very medieval, and we have lovely visual descriptions of the massive cathedrals and castles on the planet of Vultris, and simply the Doctor and Flip exploring whilst Constance Clark is taken by the rebel fraction, and they have another little conversation there. And whilst that goes on, we kind of have all the elements of the story coming together, meaning that the final act is considerably fast-paced. However, we have that early start to the story that is a lovely, smooth introduction, giving all of the characters time. When you have a little bit of development with Flip and a nice bit of exposure with the Doctor, you equally have another scene with Constance Clark, and again, Miranda Racing doing some absolutely phenomenal acting. So it's a very fun story that definitely uses the strengths of this TARDIS team very well, and overall I think it's an enjoyable adventure, and it is great to see the Ice Warriors back, and of course the icing on the cake is Colin in there as well, who is as brilliant as ever when it comes to audio. He is a Doctor that clearly understands his character's personality down to a T, and again he makes for a very enjoyable listen. So yeah, overall, if you're looking for an Ice Warriors story featuring the 6th Doctor, or simply want to try out this TARDIS team, I think that this story is a perfect example of an episode that, as I say, shows the strengths of these characters very well. And had it been another TARDIS team, I don't think this episode would have been as good as it is. So yeah, that says a lot. This episode is full of personality, and yeah, I definitely recommend it. So thank you very much for watching this review. I hope you have enjoyed it. Do of course stay tuned for the second review as a part of this trilogy, where I will be taking a look at Scorched Earth, as written by Chris Chapman, seeing Constance Clark in fact return to the setting of the World Wars. So I'm very excited to be taking a look at that story, and that review will no doubt be up either at the same time as this review or within the next few days. So thank you very much for watching, stay safe, and I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.